Yeah, so please let me know if you can see my screen.
Yeah, I can see.
Okay, so we're going to be looking at CSS today. So what is CSS? CSS simply stands for Cascading Style Sheet. Cascading Style Sheet. CSS will make your website to look more beautiful. CSS is simply a styling language. It is a presentation language. It's not a programming language like JavaScript and Python. It's actually a styling language. So with HTML, you're able to build the content or the structure of the website. But with CSS, you're going to add style and make this website to look good. Please mute yourself so that the noise from the background is. Okay,
Okay.
so this is the web page that we had in the last class. So we're going to be adding style to this web page. So you can see that this is the HTML, which is the content. And for us to preview this HTML that we designed, so this is the head that has the title, this is the body, and these are the links. Then you start having the H1 and the rest. So if you want to run this, we simply come right click and say open with live server, so that we see this very page that does not have CSS. So you can see it's opening up. So you can see code 1 here is the title, because in our code we'll put the title here as code 1. So if you say this is code Inc. So code incorporated, and we'll save by doing Ctrl X. Once we get back to our website, we should be able to see that our title is now Code Inc. You can see it here. So these are the links, and these links are actually what we have here. These are the anchor tags for the links, the ahrefs for the index, which is the home, the about us, which is the about us, the gallery, which is gallery, the form, which is application form, the contact us. So those are what we have on these links. So I can click on them. This is the about us, this is the gallery, this is the application form, and this is the contact us. So all these are built with HTML, and we're going to try to style them. So basically, you're not supposed to have any styling in the HTML, because the HTML is for the presentation, for the content. So I'm going to remove this style, this BG color red, because we're going to be styling this henceforth from our from the style sheet. So if I go also to these ones, I'll try to remove these colors, because everything about coloring, styling, presentation should be inside the CSS file. So we're going to be styling from the CSS file. So I'm going to remove everything about colors from all these web pages. I will say that collection of web pages is what makes the website. So all these about us.html, contact us.html, all of them are known as web pages. So when we combine all these web pages inside a folder, and the folder name is code 1, this code 1 is actually the website. Okay, so now I've removed all this. If I get back to the website, you see now the background is now white. So if I click here on the about us, it should be white. Gallery should be white background. Application form should be white background. Contact us should be white background as well. So everything now is a white background. Now I want to start coloring and making this look beautiful using what we call the Cascading Style Sheets, CSS. So CSS is simply that very language that you can use to style and make your presentation. So we're going to be looking at the CSS selectors and the rest, and that is what we are going to be looking. So the CSS selector selects the very HTML element that you want to style. So what are HTML elements? These are what we call HTML elements. Let me get to the index and start from there. So this body is an HTML element. This A tag, all these tags are the things that bring the HTML element. So this body is HTML elements. The A tag is HTML element. The heading is HTML element. The UL, the image tag, the table, all of them are elements. So you can use the selector to select them and style them. So CSS selector, select the HTML element you want to style. So if you choose to style H1, you have to select it and style it. So these selectors are divided into several categories. You have the CSS element selector, class selector, ID selector, universal selector, grouping selector, and pseudo selectors. So we're going to be looking at all these selectors in this class. So after that, we are going to start implementing the very CSS. So once you put the selector, what is here is the selector. Then you open and close a bracket. Then you put the property that you want to style, then the value that you want to give it. So this is simply saying that you're styling the element with the class center, and you're giving the property text align to be styled at center, and you're giving the property color the value of red. So let's experiment this now. So there are three ways you can style your elements. So you can use what we call inline styling. You can also use what we call internal styling, and you can use external styling. So let's start with the first one, inline styling. So in inline styling, I'm going to come to this element H1. So here, I'm going to give it the attributes of style and give the value of color.
Sir, the share screen is small. That's reduced.
Okay, I should increase it.
Yes, yes.
Is it better like this?
Better.
Okay, so I'm going to give the color of red. So this is what we call inline styling. You come into the element, you assign it the attribute of style, then you give it so this is the property and this is the value. So for the property of color, we are giving it the value of red. So if I save this now and I get back to my browser, I'm going to find out that code 1, which is this head 1, is now red. So this is what we call inline styling. So I can style this H2 or this paragraph. I can get back using inline styling. I can style this element, E element. I can also give it the style of, I say the color. So when I mean color of the font. So I'm going to give it the color of yellow. So this is inline styling. So if I get back now, I'll see that this paragraph is now, you can see it is now yellow. So this is what we call inline styling. If I get back now, this H2 can give it the attribute of style because I want to use inline styling. And I can give it the value of green. So if I save now, the style will now be green. So make sure you put what you want to color or what you want to style. Property is color green. So if I get back now, I'll see that this is now green. So that is what we call inline styling. So in styling or using CSS, you're making this, giving it a style to make it more beautiful. So that is style. So I can now use this same style and simply come here, body, I can also give the background color here to what I want to give. So this is what we call inline styling. So this inline styling is not the best way to style your element, because it will not allow this style to be reusable. Let's say you want to use this style in another web page. Because we have different web pages here. We have gallery page, we have form, we have contact us. If you want to use that same style, you cannot use it for all of them, because you can see that this style is already written into these elements. So this is not the advisable way of styling your HTML elements. So I'm going to remove them, because I want to use a better way to style. But it's good that you know about this inline styling, so that anytime you need to use it, there are cases where you will need to use them in instances where you've already assigned a general style using the external styling, but you want this very one, you want to give a particular style to the element in that very page. Because the styling that you give inline overrides every other way of styling, you want to use this style. But let's try another way of styling. The other way of styling will be putting it inside a header. So if we come to this header, we can put the style tag. So make sure that you put it in the header. So once you put this style tag inside here, you can write your style. So how do you write a style? In the slide that I showed you, I said you must write the selector first. So which selector do you want to style? I want to style head 1. So that is how you do it. The selector you want to style. The selector represents the element. So I want to style this head 1 element here. So I must write head 1. Then I'm going to open and close curly brackets. Then inside this curly bracket, I'm going to write the property I want to style. I want to style the color. Then I put my colon and put the value that I want to give my color. So I want to give my color red. Then I close, yes?
This type of styling, what is it called?
This one is called internal. This one is internal styling. The first one we looked at is inline styling. Then
inline.
Inline is the first one we looked at, where you put it inside the elements. But this one is known as internal styling. The one you put inside the style tag, inside the head section of your HTML is known as internal styling. So this internal styling is actually better than inline styling, because you can reuse this style for any style you put here. You can reuse it for the various elements. But it is not as good as the external styling, which we can use for even these other pages, the gallery page, the form page, and all of them. So we're also going to test the external styling, which is the best way to style. So for this internal styling, I will save this now. You're going to see that the head one will have the color of red. So you can see only the head one has red, because that's the only thing that is styled. All these ones have removed the styling. You see that all of them got back to their former styles. So this is what we call the internal styling. So internal styling. So I can come here and give my h2, which is another element here. So I can say h2, then open and close curly brackets. I can now give it the color of green. Then I save. Once I save this, so this selector is telling me that it should go into this HTML and look for h2. So anywhere it sees h2, I should give the content the color of green. So if I save this and I get back here, I can see now that this my h2, our services, is now in green. And that is how you can style this. So this is known as internal styling.
Internal styling.
Yeah, this is
internal. I have a question.
Yeah, please ask.
Yeah, for example, on this index page now, let's say we have like 10 H2 elements there.
Yeah.
I will give it this kind of styling. That means all the H2 there will change to green.
Yes, yes.
Or is it only one that will change to
all
green?
of them will change. All of them, yes.
Okay.
So as we go on, we are going to learn how, if you want to limit the number that you want to change, we'll teach you selectors that can help you do that, okay?
Okay.
Yeah. So for now, we are learning about the different ways to style, to bring in our style. So we've checked out the inline styling, we've checked out the internal styling. So let's check out the external styling. So I'm going to copy this style here. I'm going to cut it out because I don't want it to be here again. So if I save back and I get back now, I'll find out that none of them is having style. So I'll get back here now. I'll take out these two style because I don't want to use external styling. It is not the best way to style. So let's look at the best way to style. So the best way to style will be for you to create a file known as style.css, just like the way we've created it here. You can see it here, style.css. So inside it is where you now write the various styles. So you put the elements, then you now write inside a bracket the property and then the value of the property. So the property is simply the property you want to style. The value is the actual style you want to give it. Whereas this head one, what is here is the selector. So the normal way of representing styles in Cascading Style Sheets is by you write the selector, that's the first thing. Then you put your opening and closing brackets. Then inside it, you will now write the property you want to change, which is in this case, it could be color, it could be font size, it could be border, it could be anything. Then you now put the value that you want to give it. So whether you're giving, if it is color, it can be red, black, or yellow, that's the value. If it is border, it could be 20 pixel, 30 pixel, or if it's font size, it could be 20 pixels. So once you finish, you put your semicolon. So make sure the first thing you put here is colon, the other one is semicolon. So this is the normal way to represent your style. So anything you put here is the selector. But selectors are not always elements. They could also be classes and ID, which I'm going to teach you now. So I'm going to remove this, but that is the representation. So if I save this, if you go and check, you are not going to see this style until you bring in this style. So there's a way you need to bring in this style into this header. So if you now go and check now, you will not see the style. You can see there's no style, there's no coloring of the H1 and H2. But once you get back to here, then inside the header again, you're going to bring in what we call the link tag, because it is with the link tag that you bring in your style. So you use the link tag to bring any document that is related to your HTML. So this time around, I want to bring a document that is related to my HTML. And this document, what is the relationship? What is the rel? The rel is simply that this is a style sheet. So you're bringing in a style sheet to this HTML. So now you are going to tell it where is it linked.
But everything must be inside the head.
Yeah, it has to be in the head.
This one the link.
Yeah, the link has to be inside the head. So you are now linking it to.
But what of if, like, we want the title to have a color? I want to bring it from style sheets to this side.
No, it's not proper to give your title a color.
Color, okay.
Yeah. So it's mostly what is in the document.
Okay, it's usually black.
Yeah.
By default.
Yeah. So you have your link rel. So the relationship between what you're bringing in is that it's a style sheet for this website. Now the href is where you saved your style sheet. So you can see that our style sheet is style.css. So I'm simply going to say style.css. So if you had saved it with tolu.css, it has to be tolu.css. So make sure the name here is the name of the style sheet document. So once you are done, you can now close this style sheet like this. So if you save now, this HTML document will be able to see the things that are written inside this style.css, and it will now apply those style to your website. So if you save now and go back, you're going to see now that the H1 is now red, the H2 is now green. So those are the various stylings. So you have the inline styling that you put inside the elements, whether it's the H3 elements or the rest. And you also have the internal styling, which you define the style, put inside the style tags and the header. Then you have the external styling, where you write your styles in a different document or in a different page or in a different file that ends with the extension .css, such as this style.css. Then you now bring them into the HTML by using the link element, where you put the rel as the type of document, which is a style sheet document. That's what you're bringing in. Then the href will be you're assigning the value of the name of the CSS file. So those are the two various ways of doing that. So we can now come here we can style the H3. So if you come here now, we see our H3. Our H3 here is students data table. So if we check out our students data table, it does not have any color. So if I come in here and go now to here, because it's already linked, I can simply say that our H3, I'll mention the selector, and I can give it the color of blue. So that is the color of that now. So once I save it here, it's already saved. I can simply get back here and I can see that student data table is now blue. So very importantly, you need to know that what is here is the name of the element you want to style. And when you open up this, you can output. So it's not only color that you can give, you can also give another thing. Let's say font size or font width or height or any other thing, depending on the kind of property that this thing that you're assigning has. So I can say font size. So if I want it to be bigger than the color it has to be in, so I can give it a font size, say 18, 19 pixels. So I can say 25 pixels. So once I save this now, the font size of this H3 is going to change. So you can see now it's bigger than normal H3. So as many properties as you want to assign, you have to be putting them under the one you've done. So if I take this bigger font size now, cut it out, put it in H1, because I want my H1 to be so big, so I can assign it a font size of 40. So if I save and get back now, see it's bigger now than what it was. So you can assign as many properties and values as possible inside the curly bracket, and all those styling will be applied to that very element. So what we have here is what we call element styling. It's not the only way to style. So you can attach other things. So I can come here now. This H1 p tag, I can assign another thing known as class to it. So class is another way of selecting. So if I assign it the class of Tolu, so the class name of this p tag is Tolu. So here is code 1. So the class name of this very p tag is Tolu. So any style I apply to Tolu, this content here is code 1 will change to that style. So let's say now I go back here. So instead of using p tag, I can use that Tolu. And for you to use a class, you have to say dot Tolu. So this is now the class. So I can now assign the value of, say, color. I can assign which color have I not used? I can assign orange. So you will see that this very class now is now orange. I hope I saved. So make sure once you apply, you save. So this is the Tolu class. But but when I applied it on the HTML, I did not save. So I have to go back to my HTML. This is the Tolu class. Make sure I save this. So when I get back here, you can see that this is now orange. So I'm no longer using the element selector here. I'm using the class selector. So anywhere it sees a class of Tolu, it will apply that very style. So this is very, very important. So
hello, sir.
Yeah.
Sir. Yeah, I'm trying to run it on my side. It's not actually, the color is not actually picking.
Okay, so you're going to share your screen.
So let me check your style sheet first so that I can compare with my own.
Okay.
All right.
So where you are checking it, I'm going to teach you the last selector. So these are element selectors. These are class selectors. So the last selector is the ID selector. So for the ID selector, you're going to be using the hash to select it. So if you say hash Ada, so Adana is now the selector name, but hash must start it if it is ID. So if I assign the color of, say, let me choose one of these colors, blue violet. So that's the color I'm assigning. So now, any element that I assign Ada to, using the ID property, ID attribute, it will have this. So if I get back to here now, and I go say, which one should I start now? Say this H2, instead of giving it a class, okay, let me go to, let me take another paragraph. Let me have a second paragraph here, but this time around, instead of giving it a class, I'm going to be giving it ID. And I'm going to be assigning it the value of Ada. So I'm going to reduce this so that we can see the difference. So what it has is here is code 1. So if I go back here, I can see here in code 1 is having that very color that I just assigned. So that is ID. So if you're using ID, once you assign the attribute of ID and give it a value, so that is now the selector. Ada is the selector. So if I get here, because it's an ID and not a class, it has to be this hash. So I'm going to allow you to practice this now. You share your screen, look at my own, and practice so that we can see what you're able to do. Did you understand, Adeyemi?
Yes, sir.
So I will allow you to share your screen now so that we can.
Okay, sir.